The next item, Mayor Adler, is the appointment of municipal directors, which we are moving to a closed meeting. But I would ask that council consider a resolution to move to a closed meeting of council pursuant to items outlined in section 90.1A of the community charter upon adjournment of the open meeting.
Is there a move?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Okay. Call the question? Or is there any further discussion? No. Call the question? All those in favor? Against? One against. The next item on the agenda is 5.4. Okay, so we have a number of different committees on the island, some of which are not very active, some which are completely dead, and some which are becoming quite active, and some which need to be reactivated. In my discussions with council and with members of the public, it seems to me that we can move some of the committees, we can amalgamate some of the committees, and I'm hoping that we can start on the amalgamation process fairly quickly, and maybe by or before January, the first meeting in January, we can sort of have an idea of what should be a committee that should be active. And then the other thing that's important on this is that I'm hoping that we get lots of volunteers for the 5 or 6 committees that we really need to have some special emphasis. And I'll just point out to you a couple of them. The ferry committee is, the ferry advisory committee is quite important. In fact, tomorrow we're people that are on it, and hopefully the new person that we're trying to put on it today, we're going to be meeting with the BC Ferries over in Horseshoe Bay to discuss the ferry and their plans, the plans which they're putting forward to make it liquid natural gas engine, fired engines. I'm not particularly well versed on liquid natural gas. There's a lot of gas, I'm sure, in this room at various times of the year, but not liquid natural gas. So that's a committee that's very important. The other committee that's important, and I've also had correspondence with people, and I've heard from other people in the community, is the Advisory Planning Commission, which I'm looking quite forward to reactivating and increasing the people on the commission. Another one which is of real importance as we go into parts of today's agenda, but in the next month's agenda, the next few months' agenda, is the finance committee. We desperately need a finance committee on this island to assist council with the way ahead. We have to do a number of different things, including increasing revenue and decreasing costs, and we have to do that on a fair basis. So I'm looking forward to having volunteers from the public assist council and staff in that particular committee as well. We have 2 groups which have not been very active in the past short while. One is the Surplus Lands Working Group, and the other one is the Affordable Housing Working Group. And I know that various councillors and myself are around the table today professed an interest, a strong interest in both the surface lands and affordable housing and what we could do for the municipality in the next short while. So I am hoping to reactivate those two working groups or committees, if you will. So I think it's really important, but the most important thing that I want you to get out of my little spiel here is that we need volunteers, and I want assistance from the public. I want the public to tell me what problems they foresee, and I want them to tell me what solutions they see. I don't want this to be a top-down council telling the public what to do. I want the public to tell council what they'd like us to do. So that's my little spiel on the municipal committee structure. I'm hoping that we can get this moving as quickly as possible, so I'm looking forward to receiving, I don't know if it's me that's receiving it or Kathy, maybe you're going to receive it, the volunteer lists. I think this is really important. Councillors, anybody have it? Okay.
I suppose we will have to advertise for volunteers.
Yes, and I think we've done that in one instance already.
We have ads coming out this past Friday for the APC, the Advisory Planning Commission.
So that is probably one of the main committees. But for the other ones, we should be very clear as to what their mandate and what the terms of reference are. And I would expect that we have some kind of a strategic session to just narrow down what committees we will need. I would advise that we have too many, rather have the creative energy focused on 2 or 3 main issues and get it done. And in that respect, the surplus lands or Snug Cove planning or walkable village, will that be, is that intended to be separate from the APC, or will that be the major job for the APC? That's basically what I'm wondering at this point.
No, I think it has to be, I think all of the things that you've mentioned should be part of an overall plan of attack for either amalgamating surplus lands and affordable housing into the advisory planning commission as a subcommittee or as a subgroup. But I don't think we should bite off more than we can chew. That is for the advisory planning commission.
And that's, I hesitate right now to make a decision on that until we have decided on the scope of what those committees should handle. I mean, the advisory planning committee deals, I suppose, with more than just Snug Cove.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they do that, we have to make sure that the APC doesn't take on too much.
Yes.
Now, if the APC then has a subcommittee, it would probably be okay. I would strongly suggest not to then roll affordable housing into that, because it's a very specialized skill set, and we have people who have a particular passion about that. So that issue on its own, to decide what committees do we want to have, and not only what committees do we want to have, we have to talk about the terms of reference, time plans, so that we don't have the volunteer burnout, give them whatever, 1 or 2 tasks, and say, well, 3 or 4 months, rather than ongoing, and actually have after that period something to report and to decide on.
Okay, the point I was trying to make is, first of all, I did want to compact the number of commissions, committees, groups. That's But what I really want to do is I want to make sure that the public gets involved with us. We can decide amongst us at the next meeting or at a future meeting which committees, but I'd like to hear from the public what committees they would like to see and what committees they would volunteer for, regardless of what the scope of the committee or commission or group would be. I think we need to know where the interest lies from the public as well as.
I fully agree,
I know-
and maybe we can make that as a topic for the first town hall meeting,
That could
to get the
That
input
would
from
be
the
wonderful.
public,
Yeah,
because we cannot really advertise without having defined the purpose of the committee.
yes.
So in order to even advertise, we have to somehow an understanding what's the purpose of the committee is. And maybe, yeah, well, that's a good idea to have the public
Some public
give us,
input on
tell
that.
us what their preference would be.
I mean, I think we have had some correspondence from the chair of the APC recently, who's expressed, I think, a desire to basically discuss their role specifically and to possibly look at a changing of their role from what it has been traditionally or has been in the recent past. And I guess that needs to be part of the discussion that takes place at another meeting, certainly a workshop style meeting. But I would understand that the APC basically operates as a separate from the Snug Cove, surplus lands, etc. But it informs those committees, and that's part of what its role should be as a separate advisory body. So I think this is, I don't know whether the object tonight was to actually try and come up with anything substantive on this list, or
No,
just to
no.
discuss it in general terms.
Just a general discussion.
I think there needs to be a broader discussion about it.
And just to, Sir Alison, I'll hit you in a sec. One of the things that you did bring up correctly is that the chair of the APC wants to see an updated bylaw.
Yeah,
All right.
our director of planning will be bringing forward a new bylaw for the APC, expanding their role in January for council's consideration.
Okay.
And this was based on input from APC members.
Alison?
Just sort of a couple of updates on the outside agencies. The North Shore Transportation Advisory Committee no longer exists, so we can cross that one off. And the Water Services Management Commission, that bylaw that established that committee was repealed 2 years ago, so they're long gone too.
Which one was the second one, Alison?
The Water Services Management Commission, the one at the very bottom of commissions and advisory committee, that bylaw was repealed. And just for an education item for the new council members, the water advisory committees, all their bylaws were rewritten, in terms of reference, were rewritten within the last 3 years. And so, and they basically just meet once a year to review budgets and advise on capital plans, or at the